Welcome back to American Psychotherapy, the YouTube channel where today we're going to step back a bit, reflect on these first 10 rides, and give some thought to where we might go from here. So let's mount up and get rolling, and I'll tell you what's on my mind today. And we're rolling. Look, folks, so far I've been able to rage a bit on this channel, and looking back on these first 10 rides, I'm wondering if they haven't been, in some small way, my side of political conversations that have never occurred. Conversations that simply can't be engaged in with most MAGA folks. They haven't ceased having such conversations. In reality, these MAGA folks haven't honestly engaged in even-handed political conversations for 12 years now. The only conversations they can have are those that affirm their own view of the world. And I think these first 10 rides were a last-ditch attempt on my part to awaken some folks to America's catastrophic meltdown. It's been my attempt to break the silence associated with MAGA folks going out of their way to know nothing but the comforting repetitions they cling to as Trump supporters. And in that way, I think Fox News is much like Sunday worship. See, nobody tunes into Fox News or walks into Sunday worship hoping to learn anything new or to interrogate their beliefs. Fox News, talk radio, and Sunday worship, these are safe venues where true believers can proudly praise one another and bear witness of the affirmations true believers crave to hear. They can take refuge from the storms of critical thought in the warm shelter of a purely imagined persecution complex. In these sacred halls of concocted political worship, the devout can unburden their incapacity to defend or discuss the indefensible and place them on the altar and cast them away along with reason, common sense, and crushing moral hypocrisy, to let it all waft away in a ritual of repetition. Fox News and Sunday worship are places of constant and unceasing affirmation for concourse voices repeatedly chanting in unison their belief in God, their conviction of God's favored view of them, and their conviction of God's disfavor toward those people. And those people, over the course of a decade, more than a decade, have actually come to include anybody who's not American, anybody who looks different, anybody who lives different, loves, believes, or thinks differently, anybody who speaks out or votes differently than they do. The three-time Trump voter, still supporting Donald Trump as we head into the 2026 midterm election, will likely never turn away from him at this point. Trump is a crook, a felon, and a fraud. They don't care. He sexually and verbally abuses women. They don't care. Several underage girls have accused him of sexual abuse. They don't care. Don't tell me that an adjudication of his pedophilia would somehow matter to his supporters. It wouldn't. They don't care. He denies any election he loses, and he encourages violence as an appropriate response. They don't care. He's never been able to open his mouth without spewing lies and offense. He's a cover-up artist. He's a vengeful coward who falsely accuses and falsely prosecutes anyone who dares oppose him. His trade policies are an abject failure. His foreign policy is an abject failure. His fiscal policies are an abject failure. His public health policies are proving catastrophic. His personal corruption is open, notorious, and continuing, relentlessly so. They don't care. But here's what they do like. His cruelty toward immigrants is laudable to his supporters. His malevolence as a human being, as a leader, as a public figure, and as a leader again, remain unremarkable to his supporters. In 12 years, they have not been able to find a way to withdraw their support of him. To the extent that these first 10 rides were calculated to convey my contribution to conversations that have never occurred, I give up. For now, anyway, and I give up for 2 reasons. First, there is no tipping point for the 3-time Trump voters still supporting Donald Trump. And 2, it's too late to save America from Americans who never found a way to stop or just stop supporting a madman. Which is just another way of stating the obvious fact that America now consists of too many Americans who are either evil or stupid, or more likely a combination of both. Now, look, that may sound quite harsh, but piety and politics combine to produce an undeniably vicious patriotism, fueled by a brand of faith blind to its own betrayal. It has been harsh indeed for the world to witness America doing to nearly every nation what America would never have wished on itself. And it is harsher still for we the people who knew better to witness all that has happened by virtue of Americans' decade-plus long silent refusal to resist or oppose any of it. For now, America's fate will follow an irreversible course, a distinctly chosen course that was by no means inevitable. Where we are now headed as a nation is a path we the people charted for ourselves, and once seeing the danger, we did nothing. I fear that the road ahead will be long. It'll be perilous, and it will be a steep uphill climb, not just for America, but for the whole world now. And so, for the foreseeable future, American psychotherapy bike rides will turn away from trying to persuade Trump supporters to do otherwise. And instead, we will focus on the path that history, unfolding events, and untethered fate are now placing before us. On this channel, we shall periodically escape the doom scrolling in search of daylight to find our way forward. So, let's be of good cheer and crack on. Beauty, fresh air, healthy exchange, and an occasional laugh have a way of lightening everybody's load.
Nobody can do it like me. Nobody. Nobody can do it like me. Honestly.
Nobody's stronger than me.
Nobody has better toys than I do.
There's nobody bigger or better at the military than I am.
Nobody loves the Bible more than I do.
Nobody builds walls better than me.
Nobody's better to people with disabilities than me. Nobody's fighting for the veterans like I'm fighting for the veterans.
There's nobody that's done so much for equality as I have.
There's nobody more pro-Israel than I am.
There's nobody more conservative than me.
There is nobody that respects women more than I do.
Nobody would be tougher on ISIS than Donald Trump.
Because nobody's ever had crowds like Trump has had.
There's nobody that understands the horror of nuclear better than me. And nobody even understands it but me. It's called devaluation. The sale of the uranium that nobody knows what it means. I know what it means. Nobody knows more about trade than me. Nobody knows the game better than I do. Nobody's in the history of this country has ever known so much about infrastructure as Donald Trump.
I know the H-1B. I know the H-2B. Nobody knows it better than me.
Nobody knows politicians better than I do.
Nobody knows more about taxes than I do.
Nobody knows more about debt than I do. Nobody knows the system better than me, which is why I alone can fix it.
Well, who knew? Who could possibly have predicted that this guy might not have been a good choice for President of the United States? All right. Thanks for coming along. I'm glad that you did. Next time, I'll be talking about America's origin story and our culture today and why they have thus far been unable to achieve some much-needed separation. Subscribe and please click on that notification bell so you can join us on our next ride. And I'll tell you what's on my mind then. Thanks again.